Let me just give you a bit of statistic there. I went to a market here in Kiserian, and on average, they pay 10% per day for the credit they access. 10% per day. That's the average. So that's about 3,600% per year. And these are people who make 200, 300 shillings on a good day from selling whatever they are selling. If we just sorted out credit for them, we can actually double their incomes just by sorting out credit, making sure that they have access to credit. And instruments are available that we can use to make credit accessible to these micro and small enterprises. We are talking about 15 million people in that space. 15 million from government statistics. And these are people who are struggling. And it's growing. We inject about 1 million, just slightly under 1 million people into the job market every year. 50,000 are employed by the corporate world, another 150,000 employed by the larger SMEs, and then between 700 and 800,000 join the lottery. You know, place where they don't know what will happen. You know, guesswork. And that's so this lottery is what keeps on increasing. The 15 million who do odd jobs, you know, sell this today, sell that tomorrow. That's the place we really need to pay attention as we look into how to improve what we now call the Jua Kali that employs about 3.5 million Kenyans. See how we can grow that. See how we can provide more skills. And that's why I am a very strong believer in Tibet. How we can bring more skills into that space of the Jua Kali and make it a real manufacturing space. So access to credit, skilling that area, focusing on wood products that we can absorb, textile, leather, that whole space. That will be our big push. We believe that in that space we will not only create jobs, but we will create wealth. You know, we will create wealth. We need even as we focus in investing in big infrastructure, we must focus in areas that create jobs and put money in people's pockets. That's really important. And then, of course, finally, I've said finally now 3 times. I think I'll say it one more time and then I'm done. Agricultural productivity is going to be a big area for us. When I say agricultural productivity, I mean, for example, our farmers today, maize farmers produce 5-6 bags, maybe 10 an acre. We can push that to 20. The same farmer, same farm, we can do 20 and or 15 for that matter. Just by making sure that we get the correct seeds, we make sure that they have access to quality, affordable fertilizer, and just a bit of management and removing the cartels and the brokers from the market, you know, making sure that the market is cleaned up. Example, we are the largest producer of milk, I think, in this continent. We produce about 5 billion liters of milk. But on average, We are actually producing between one, maybe maximum 3 or 4 kilos per cow. In fact, in Kajiado, that lady said they were producing what? 2. 1.5, between 1.5 and 2. Actually, if we just improved on animal feed, and we are importing now, the big people are importing animal feed. So I was saying we produce 5 billion liters. We can actually double our production of milk without much effort. Same cow, same farmer, just making sure that they have access to animal feed. Animal feed. So, and we have already discussed with farmers when we had the economic discussion in Kakamega and Bungoma. These are farmers who are saying, give us an opportunity to produce soya, to produce simsim. We will make much more money from that than from cane, and you will get the raw materials to do your animal feed. So this is the space we are looking at. And if we can improve our cow producing 2 liters and make it produce 5 liters, we will double our production of milk. And even if we sold it at the lowest price, we can make another 150 billion shillings into our foreign exchange earnings. Instead of, I'm happy we are not, instead of many of our neighbors in DRC importing milk from Australia, I think from Kenya is much more near. You can take the milk there and all the other places. So this is what I wanted finally to say, and Dee has said clearly that we are going to work on universal health. Universal health is going to be a very big push for us. We believe that it's doable, and if we can structure it, we can get it done. We are looking at working with you on finally the space on investing in climate, seeing what we can do in that space of climate, especially that it affects our agriculture, which contributes significantly to our GDP. I know I have spoken longer than I should, but I thought it is important. In the community I come from, they say, if you want to fight with somebody, you don't tell them, let's look for a good place to fight. Where you meet them, you square it out. So maybe we have been looking for an opportunity to share this with you. Maybe this was not the correct moment. But since we found it anyway, we decided. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We're running a little behind schedule, so I'm going to toss this ball back to your court, Ambassador Geiger, and I'll now invite yourself and your team to respond to the submission by His Excellency the Deputy President, but also just generally raise any issues. And from our side, we will make responses led by our Deputy President Designate, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Governor Waiguru, Honorable Moses Wetangula, Honorable Moses Kuria, and for Kandara.
Honorable Gladys Shelley, the Member of Parliament for Western Gishu County, our delegation this morning also includes some key members of our economic team, and they include Dr. Honorable Aden Duale, Member of Parliament for Garissa Town. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Duale. Mheshimiwa yupi mwingine? I think those are our members of Parliament here this morning. Let me also acknowledge members of our economic team. Yes, Mheshimiwa Ichungwa, Mheshimiwa Kimani Ichungwa, Member of Parliament for Kikuyu Town. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Ichungwa. We have members of our economic team here, led by Dr. David Ndi, Professor Njuguna Ndu, Dr. Irene Asianga. Those are members of our economic team. And our other staff, including the Chief of Staff of the Office of the Deputy President, Mr. Davis Chirchir, and the Director for Legal Affairs in the Office of the Deputy President, Dr. Korir Singoe, and our other staff. The EU team is led here by Her Excellency Henriette Geiger, Ambassador of the delegation of the EU to Kenya. The delegation includes the following ambassadors: Mr. Christian Fellner from Austria, I will actually pass the mic around for that introduction, and I'm going to quickly pass that mic to Ambassador Geiger, who will then lead the introduction of the rest of the team.
Good morning, I'm Henriette Geiger, the EU Ambassador. I will just go to my right and then we go to the left.
Morning, my name is Ole Tonge, I'm the Danish Ambassador.
Good morning, Cristina Diaz, Ambassador of Spain.
Good morning, Peter Maddens, Ambassador of Belgium.
Good morning, Alberto Pieri, Italian Ambassador.
Good morning, my name is Jill Clements, I'm the Deputy Ambassador for Ireland.
Good morning, I'm Annika Otterstedt, I'm the Deputy Ambassador of Sweden.
Good morning, my name is Joseph Roja, I'm the Deputy Ambassador from Hungary.
Good morning, I'm Anna Rocha, I'm the Ambassador of Portugal.
Jumbo, Martin Brouwer, I'm the Ambassador for the Netherlands.
Good morning, I'm Pirkko Tapiola, Ambassador of Finland.
Good morning, Christian Fellner from Austria, Ambassador.
Good morning, my name is Katerina Zsufala-Ligdanova, I'm the Slovak Ambassador.
Good morning, I'm Dragos Siga, Ambassador of Romania.
Good morning, Thomas Wimmer, Deputy Ambassador, Germany.
Good morning, Adam Piñas, I'm the Deputy Ambassador of the Czech Republic.
Thank you very much. Accompanying this delegation, Your Excellency, is the Director for Europe at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Angeline Musili. Karibu sana Balozi Musili kwa niaba ya Wizara ya Foreign Affairs. This breakfast engagement comes at a very appropriate time. It comes again as the backdrop of the Kenya-EU Strategic Dialogue 2021-2027 that was executed here in Nairobi on the 28th day of January this year during the official visit of the EU High Representative and Vice President. The dialogue sets 3 key pillars in Kenya-EU cooperation. And the purpose of this engagement this morning is to facilitate our interaction as Team Kenya Kwanza with the EU delegation on the basis of that strategic dialogue. This conversation also comes just a couple of months before the general election. So it's also a good opportunity for the EU delegation to have a feel of what our team has to offer this country. And so without wasting any time, I am going to invite our Head of Economic Affairs, Dr. David Ndi, to share with us some thoughts that inform the economic model that underpins our engagement. Dr. Ndi, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Excellencies. Karibuni sana, our Deputy President and Presidential Candidate, our political leaders, Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula, Hono Wetangula, Mutua, Governor Mutua, and others. I'm not going to go through all of you, but I guess I'll stick with the all protocols observed sort of thing. Let me acknowledge my colleagues, Professor Ndungu, Dr. Asianga there, and my technical team here. Mine is very brief. It is just to provide an overview of what our economic platform and our policy platform is. I said my name is David Ndi. I lead the policy and platforms team, economic platform team of this campaign. Those of you who follow a bit of our media will have watched some of our town hall engagements with people around their economic issues. And I want to start by pointing out that our objective is not just to have an economic platform, but also to change the conversation in our politics. We're trying to engineer a paradigm shift from conversation about power and positions and all sorts of things of that nature to policies and the programs and the issues that are of interest to the people. And I think we are succeeding. Our policy program is called bottom-up economics, and it is now all the rage around the world. We've been probably talking about it longer than many people who've made it famous, like the US. So I'll just highlight why we think that is the way to go for Kenya, and that should be the political platform about our socio-economic transformation. We have based that on we have 3 principles. We think that there are 3 principles that underpin this platform. One is that markets must work for everyone. When I was working in the development world about 2 decades ago, there was a conversation going around saying markets, making markets work for the poor. But I said, no, not just for the poor. They must work for the poor, but they must work for everyone. I believe even in the countries you come from, this conversation is going on about whether markets are working for everyone, about the sort of capture of political process by the corporate big and market power, the exercise of market power, both in the economy and as something that is a threat to the democratic process. So that's one of the key things, that markets must work for everyone, and in this country they must absolutely work for the majority, which they are not. Markets are working for very small people. Obviously, in poor countries, you have challenges of systemic market failures, which Professor Ndungu can probably talk about better than me. That's what he does that's his day job, to look at such things. But also markets are being undermined very fundamentally at the rule of law level by chronic capitalism and state capture. That's something that we are very alive to, and that we have to, that's a political economy problem, and that's something that we can only be confronted politically. The second issue, principle, in this country is very specific to this country, and it's about distribution of capital. Ownership and distribution of capital. We are an entrepreneurial economy, but if you look at how capital is allocated in this country, capital should be distributed so that it can raise the productivity of the labor force. But if you look at this country, where the capital is and where the labor force is not the same place. So capital is too concentrated in a few hands and enterprises, where it creates highly profitable enterprises, but it undermines the productivity and employment in the economy. So we need to have a conversation around how do we distribute capital, redistribute capital, so that it goes to where it can raise productivity and address issues of poverty and inequality and many other things that are undermining a threat to stability and livelihoods of people. The third theme is around social protection. And again, here is an issue of inequality, that if you look at our legacy social protection systems around health, around old age security, around various things, they have a very narrow base. They are designed around an elite, shall you say, structure because of our colonial legacy. They are not fit for purpose. So the principle here is a principle of universalism, that we need social protection systems that are universal, that reach everyone, that are equitable and not regressive, and within that we need to look at our pension systems, NSI, for our healthcare, insurance type issues, workforce sort of protection, all those rubric of what then, because that's how then economy translates to human development. Those are the principles. Question of making markets work, having a system of equitable distribution of capital. We don't want concentration of capital in this sort of society undermines growth and productivity and incomes, as well as the question of fit for purpose social protection and institutions. Those are the principles. In terms of actual translation of those into policy and programs, we have organized ourselves, our priorities around 4 pillars. Pillar 1 is agriculture-led growth. We are making a statement that we believe at our Kenya right now, the way out of many of the immediate challenges we are facing, economic debt, whatever, has to be starting with agriculture, which is what is at the bottom of our economy, the primary economy. That's where most of people are working. That's where our capital is. That's where our labor force is. That's where our competitiveness is. And by focusing on agriculture very squarely, we think that's where we're going to get inclusive growth. That is where we can get immediate supply response and bounce back on the balance of payment side, because that's where our exports can grow fastest. That's where we can increase exports most quickly. And also there are areas that we can substitute imports, particularly in the area of food. You're familiar with the kind of crisis that is caused in the commodities, particularly agricultural commodities, by the Ukraine war, those kind of shocks. And therefore, in this country, over the last couple of decades, we have seen a huge increase in dependence on food imports, which are now having this kind of macroeconomic impact. And those reflect largely the neglect of agriculture and stagnating productivity, and that's one of the things we need to address. So growth and incomes, the external imbalances that we have. The third thing that it will help is with cost of living, particularly for urban poor households, because half and more of the income, the expenditures of our urban households, and including rural ones actually, are on food. So intervention in agriculture is the way to keep food prices down, and by keeping food prices down, you increase the discretionary incomes of people, and that will probably give you a bigger multiplier effect in the other sectors. And of course, food security particularly, we are very much focused on food security, particularly for the poorest households, because most of our poorest households are farmers. They are resource poor farmers. So the way to address that food insecurity is in fact to raise their productivity, because they are mostly semi-subsistence farmers. So we actually need to increase the productivity of subsistence agriculture. And the fourth thing is jobs. We see most of the jobs immediately coming out of agribusiness. That is both sides of the agricultural value chain, from the input side and then on the output sides, post-harvest better post-harvest management. We lose a lot of our produce in post-harvest. There are opportunities there. So we see these challenges as opportunities. Solving these problems will in fact create jobs. So the second pillar is micro and small enterprises. Outside smallholder agriculture, this is where most Kenyans work. Over 85% of non-farm jobs are in micro and small enterprises. But the vast majority of the people there, in our estimate about 10 million, actually have no capital to work with. A huge part of it is actually just mitigating open unemployment. So we don't think that in the short run we are going to create jobs for those people by bringing in new investments in large enterprises and corporates. We're going to create jobs for those people by raising their productivity and their incomes where they are. And that's why our focus there is on how we create an enabling environment for the micro and enterprises. And some of the interventions we need there are around property rights, about the regime, about business support. Services, but also about access to finance. The micro and small enterprises, jua kali with our land use and agriculture, access to land. As I said, we are still an agricultural country. It has to do with the environment. Because what you see now is that the demographic pressure is pushing more and more people in. We stop that. How people competing with the nature. And to do that, we have to think very seriously and have very deliberate interventions around settlement patterns and people's access to agricultural land. So these things are not mutually exclusive. Each of them is connected. That we see will bring, will hit the most birds that we need to hit with as few stones as possible. So thank you very much. And that, I think, is all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Dr. Ndi. The EU established a diplomatic presence here in 1976. In that 46 years, our relationship has grown to what I indicated in my introduction as now Kenya-EU strategic dialogue. In that period, the European Union has also grown to become Kenya's largest trading partner, accounting for 17.2% of Kenya's overall trade. The EU is also today Kenya's second largest market, with average exports amounting to 1. For Kandara, Honorable Gladys Shalay, the Member of Parliament for Western Gishu County, our delegation this morning also includes some key members of our economic team, and they include Dr.
So there are plenty of things that we would like to go into detail about, but I hope that this is not the last time that we meet. We can meet in smaller groups also at a later stage, and we can, after this meeting, also give you more details about how we see things and what our vision would be. But I would like to just close here. So as I said before, our interest is to have a free-flowing question and answer session rather than prepared speeches. So thank you very much. The fact that so many ambassadors came this morning shows our keen interest in Kenya. We take this very seriously. We also take the elections very seriously. And we really do hope that everybody takes their responsibility here, because as I said before, Kenya is a stable rock in turbid waters, and we want to keep it like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Geiger. Indeed, we do cherish the very special relationship between Kenya and the EU. Besides the development cooperation, the EU has been a key ally for this country. I do recall at the time when I served as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the EU was very supportive of Kenya's bid to sit on the UN Security Council. And even during the month of October, when Kenya was president of the EU Security Council, again, the EU was very supportive, and so we acknowledge that support. You have continued to be a partner, even on regional peace and security initiatives like AMISOM, and we know that EU continues to be a key actor in our efforts to help stabilize this region. And indeed, our presidential candidate has been very engaged
and our whole team also continues to be very engaged. On February 15 this year, a presidential candidate actually had a very substantive engagement with the European Business Council that delved deep into issues of a business environment. And we have also had occasion to meet the exploratory mission for observation of the elections. Let me now take this opportunity to invite His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, the Deputy President and our presidential candidate. And at the conclusion of his remarks, we will have that open interaction. You're welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Ababu Namwamba. Your Excellency, the leader of this delegation, Your Excellency ambassadors, members of the Kenya Kwanza team. First, let me welcome all of us to this morning breakfast at this residence. It's commonly known as the Hustler's Mansion. It was labeled by the press, so I decided to adopt it anyway. It's not a bad name. So welcome. I understand very well that this is supposed to be an interactive session where we can all participate rather than a session to make speeches. But just allow me to say a few things. One, we appreciate the place of the EU in the relationship we have with partners. The EU, as has been said here, is the largest trading partner of Kenya. That's not a small thing. We value that status, and therefore engagement with our largest trading partner is important to us as Kenya Kwanza and as Kenyans. Number two, you are our second largest market. Again, that is very important to us. Even in our focus on the economy, market is a big thing. And therefore, we believe an engagement with you is an engagement in the right direction. And then number three, the EU is also the second largest development partner for Kenya outside the World Bank. Therefore, again, that places the EU in a very pivotal place. Having said that, let me let you know that from Kenya Kwanza, you wouldn't experience a major shift in our relationship because I have been part and parcel of the administration that is outgoing, and therefore I understand full well many of the engagements that we've had, the new Kenya-EU strategic dialogue that now gives us a framework for the relationship going all the way to 2027. And we appreciate that that became necessary because of the strategic nature of our relationship. And as has been said ably by the leader of this delegation, the position of Kenya in this region and globally. We will seek to step up, conclude the economic partnership agreement. I know there are still some pending issues. We will work with you. I have been engaged in different ways in trying to conclude that relationship. We know there are little outstanding issues. We will work with you to make sure that that is concluded, and especially in the context of the admission of the DRC into EAC. So that gives us expanded opportunity, even for the EU. It is, I think it's a development in the